So now that the weather has broken for just a little bit, there's movies to talk about and TV to talk about, and we're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch Podcast.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 238 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's very own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
So we have been gone for a little while. We've been trying to get back and recording again, but winter has been wintering.
Snowmageddon. We had some Snowmageddon going on.
Yeah, and some more is on the way. Hopefully not too horribly bad. Things are starting to thaw out a little bit, but here we've had a couple of power outages over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We just, after about 2 weeks, yesterday got the mail for the first time in 2 weeks.
Yes, and deliveries have just...
Spotty, for sure.
Yep, all the delivery companies have been crazy, and solid glaciers on people's driveways.
Oh, yes. And I'm hoping we get enough warm weather that things will thaw out a little bit, because the last thing I want to see is a whole bunch of ice and then snow on top of it. And then if we get warm weather, then with the ground being frozen, it's not going to be a good thing. But at least we're not on fire.
Oh, my goodness, right?
Yeah.
We are, like, you use the allegory of the Titanic.
Yeah.
Our country is really the Titanic right now. One side's going up, one side's going down. We are completely bipolar right now.
But we'll keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we can ride the weather out and spring will be something. But before we get started, we'll get the bad news out of the way. So we do have an in memoriam today, and this one really hits pretty hard for me.
Right? Yeah.
We found out this morning that David Lynch has passed away. A few days before his 79th birthday, which is the 20th. I think he passed away last night, the evening of the 15th. And the family announced it this morning. There hasn't been anything official as to cause of death, but he did get emphysema last year because of his smoking. And so he was basically staying at home because with that, you can't afford to get COVID or pneumonia, or even a common cold can be a problem. So we know he's been sick for a little while, but this was, of course, a big shock. Nobody had any idea. And so it's a huge blow because as an artist, there was no one like him. There will be no one like him. He created his own genre and was the only person in there. Everyone knows what a Lynchian film is.
He inspired many, not just filmmakers, but authors and musicians and artists of all types. And so his influence will be felt for many, many generations to come.
Again, this was a hard one for me to swallow because, of course, I've been a big fan of David Lynch's work for...
So what's your earliest memory of David Lynch?
Eraserhead.
Was it Eraserhead? Yeah.
Yes, I was introduced to him right off the bat with Eraserhead because I was told, you've got to watch this. And I did. I saw that about the same time when I saw Tetsuo Iron Man.
Oh, wow. Man, what a time in your life, Brian.
Yeah, that was a moment when I started to realize film wasn't everything I thought it was. It surprised me. I didn't know film could do stuff like that. And I spent a lot of time showing people Eraserhead, if for no other reason to watch their
reaction.
Yeah. A lot of people at the time that I knew who watched that and they're like, this is like the dumbest thing ever. I don't know who the guy was who made this, but we'll never hear from him again, and thank God for that. It's like, well, no, you'll hear about him a little bit more. But
worked with the likes of Sting and Sir Patrick Stewart just like 2 years later.
Oh, yes. But in a climate now that is just so derivative and so same and plays it safe, he was definitely a fly in the ointment. He was his own guy. He created his own stuff, not just in movies, but in video. Also, of course, television. You can't talk Lynch without talking Twin Peaks.
Absolutely, yes.
Again, it was groundbreaking, innovative television that people are still underestimating.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely something that had an amazing cult following that TV just didn't know what to do with it. It was groundbreaking. And like you say, inspired artists of all ilks. And yes, he's definitely going to be missed for sure.
Yep.
Speaking of losing inspirations and mentors, and I even hate to even bring this up, but I know people are going to ask about this, and I'm not going to dwell on it. But this week, of course, with the publication of the New York Magazine article, of course, everybody is buzzing now about the whole Neil Gaiman thing. I never thought that Neil Gaiman should ever get a redemption arc, especially if he wasn't looking for one. But I thought that so much time had passed between the Tortoise podcasts that came out that the possibility existed, not that I would want this, but the possibility existed that people would just kind of forget. But then this week, this article came out, and not only has things ramped up again, but this article, they interviewed more people. The people that were interviewed in the podcast, they got more details, which made things worse.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not something I'm particularly wanting to talk about or go into any details. Read them, because I want this podcast to remain on the air. And, not that we're family friendly, but there's a line. I don't want to have to take the podcast down by going into too much detail. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who read the article, I've heard a lot of people talk about how they got halfway through it and just couldn't finish reading it. I have read the whole thing. I know when we talked about the podcast that I mentioned that I couldn't bring myself to listen to everything. Eventually I did, because ultimately I had to know. And I mean, it's just bad. It's bad and it's terrible. And like I said, the only reason I'm bringing it up now is because I know if I didn't, people would ask, why are you ignoring this? Because, yeah, I have a lot invested in the idea of who I thought Neil Gaiman was. And as an artist, I wanted to be him. Now, not so much.
No.
But with the article and with Neil Gaiman's response to it a couple of days ago out of his blog, which was not good. If you wanted to get from central casting, what would it look like for somebody who was guilty as hell to post a blog trying to justify what they did? That's what you would cast. It was pretty horrible.
Ugh.
It was pretty blatantly obvious. It's like, even though he's denying everything but working on himself, it's like, okay, well, what are you working on if none of this is your fault? It's terrible. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to think about it anymore. The only thing I'm going to say from this point before we close the book on this is that the only thing good that could come out of this is honestly some justice. And that's what I hope for. I hope that the women who were exploited and abused in really horrible, terrible ways, I hope they get peace. I hope they find some kind of justice. Whatever good can come out of the situation, I hope eventually that they get it. Yeah, anything else that there is to say news-wise about all of this, there are dozens of people online weighing in on it. I don't feel like I have anything unique to add to the conversation that's already happening there. I'm talking about it just so that people know, yes, I know about it. No, I'm not cool with it. Besides that, I guess that's about all that I have to say. So
That's fine.
But let's talk about something better.
Good.
Jeez,
Yay.
let's do that.
Yes.
We got a Daredevil trailer.
Right. Yes.
And there was a lot of concerns about the Daredevil series. Obviously, they scrapped everything and started over from the beginning because they were bringing in the original Daredevil and the original Kingpin, and that was it. And it was going to be basically a reboot. They were going to start over from scratch. And Kevin Feige was just looking at the dailies and was like, I don't like this. And I don't think anyone else is going to like this either. And so they scrapped it. They said, we're going to start over again.
Get everyone back.
let's give the people what they want. And
Yes.
with Iger back, he was like, yes, let's give the people what they wanted. And so this trailer, to my mind, was every concern that people had about Daredevil on Disney and it getting Disney-fied. Let's show people. It's like, are you worried that we're not bringing people back from the Netflix show? Okay, let's show you that we are.
Yes, here they are.
Are people worried about, are we going to turn this into a reboot? Is this going to be a reboot and we're going to ignore the Netflix stuff and it's going to no longer be canon? It's going to be like it never happened? Okay, well, in the trailer, we're going to show you, no, it's going to be a continuation of what was on the Netflix show. Are you worried that we're going to make it PG-13 and non-violent? Well,
Here's
dude,
a bunch of blood right from the beginning.
blood and violence and breaking of bones, figuratively and literally. So absolutely, it's as violent. And both Cox and D'Onofrio have said not only is this as dark as the Netflix show, in some places it's darker. And like you said, with Deadpool and Wolverine, the fact that they let that run and they didn't try to Disney-fy any of it at all, and it was as successful as it was, maybe they're learning their lesson and realize, no, we got to give people what they want. We have to give them the Daredevil they're looking forward to. And we definitely got that in the trailer, certainly. And while you saw it, what did you think?
Oh, I'm excited about it. We got everyone back. We've got Karen, and then we got that little bit of Frank Castle. We know he's coming back. But I think there were some new faces in there that I guess we're getting like new villains and stuff. So I'm really excited about it. Get to see Kingpin sitting there. He's healthy looking because I think the last that we saw of him was
Echo.
Oh, I forgot about Echo. See, I was thinking about Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Yes, and he got beat up in Hawkeye. I forgot about Echo. You're right. So, yes, he's sitting there. He's got his rings on. He's ready to be mayor. Everything's all ready to go to be his corrupt politician, which is what the best bad guy in comic books is, the corrupt politician. So,
Yeah.
very excited about that. Yes.
Oh, yes. Well, and like you say, we have seen some new faces. We did see a shot of White Tiger, which I remember from Spider-Man comics. Some martial arts goodness there.
Mhm.
We did see the villain with the cloth with it looks like blood running down the eyes. That's Muse.
Okay.
And a serial killer who considers murder and mayhem his art. So
fun.
hence the name Muse.
Okay.
And so he's just basically an artist.
Mhm.
He is a serial killer artist. We are going to be getting 9 episodes. Their plan originally was they wanted to do 18 episodes, but they cut them down to 9 because Kevin Feige, and I feel like he was right with this, is that he wanted the pacing to be better.
Mhm.
And so since he had money for 18 episodes, apparently what he's decided to do is instead of doing one long 18 episode season where the pacing wouldn't be what you would want, especially not for that type of action, let's do 2 seasons of 9 episodes instead.
Yeah, tighten it up and
Tight story, really good pacing, lots of action.
yes.
And let's TVMA the heck out of this.
Yeah.
Because that's what the people want. Let's give it to them. And that's what we're getting. And with a lot of the other stuff that has been going on with Disney, Star Wars has not been good for them recently. They just finished Skeleton Crew, which had the lowest ratings of any of the Disney shows, including The Acolyte, which was just universally panned by everybody who saw it. Not by me, because I didn't watch it. I haven't watched a lot
I
of
haven't
it.
either. No.
I haven't watched it, a whole lot of the Star Wars stuff. I've been avoiding it because I've got better things to do right now. But
I honestly forgot about them coming out.
yeah, well, apparently you weren't the only one who didn't watch it. I didn't watch it. A lot of people didn't watch it. So with a lot of stuff that's been going on with entertainment right now with Hollywood, they're trying to get back on their footing. Maybe Daredevil is going to be that next step. March 4th. Hopefully they'll be able to March 4th.
Yes.
On Valentine's Day, we're going to get Captain America.
Brave New World.
Brave New World. And I've been hearing a lot of conflicting reports. It's like reshoots and test screenings. And, depending on who's talking about it, it's either, well, it's going to be pretty decent, or it's like, oh, it's bombing in the test screenings or whatever. I'm going to give it a chance, obviously. I'm hoping for the best. We'll definitely see about that. But let me tell you something I did see that I enjoyed the hell out of. I got my Christmas present. I went and saw Nosferatu. Have you had a chance to see that?
I haven't. No.
So-
but I haven't heard anything bad about it. I've only heard wonderful things.
I have heard some naysayers talking about how, well, he's not like a classic vampire. And I'm like, no, he is a classic vampire. He's like a real classic vampire.
You're just not used to classic vampires is
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah, it's like, well, he doesn't sparkle in the sunshine. No, he
No,
doesn't.
fairies sparkle in the sunshine.
Exactly. I love the heck out of this. I mean, Eggers, he's an artiste. He can shoot the heck out of a movie. Whatever you think about it, it's going to look amazing. But, oh, wow. It was a feast for the eyes, and it was truly dreadful. And the pacing was, it wasn't like breakneck, but I like a slower pacing, especially when you're telling a more traditional story. And you forgot Bill Skarsgård was the bad guy. You totally lost him in there. And he throws himself into his characters, so much so, in fact, that for this movie, he studied with an opera singer so that he could lower his voice an entire octave.
Oh, okay.
That's why it doesn't even sound like him. It's like for a second there, you're like, are they doing something digital to his voice? It's like, no, he sounds like that.
Auto-tune.
And when he's not speaking what sounds like English, he's speaking a Mid-Eastern dead language. He's speaking a language that nobody has really spoken for literally 1,000 years.
Wow.
It was amazing. And I will say that, look, if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, Nosferatu is a Christmas movie.
Okay.
Because it takes place during Christmas.
Yeah.
There's a Christmas tree.
Okay.
And there was a gift that kept on giving.
All right.
It's about giving blood, yeah. Making sacrifices, yeah, definitely. That's definitely what the movie is about.
That sounds more Eastery, but hey.
Yeah, in a sense. Well, like I said, it's definitely worth the watch. It was amazing. It was fantastic. It was dreadful as all get out. Lily Rose Depp acted her ass off in this thing. Half terrified, half possessed. If you've ever said to yourself, my problem with vampire movies is there's not enough demonic possession in it. You'll get a taste of that as well.
Okay.
A little bit for everybody. Unless you don't like horror, then stay home. You don't want to watch this. So, not everything coming out of Hollywood is terrible. There's some good stuff. And that's why I've got to talk about this. We finally got you in a theater to watch Wicked.
Yes.
I will definitely want to talk about this because now we can talk. We can talk some spoiler stuff, and there will be some spoilers, folks. There will be some spoilers.
Spoilers ahead.
So, okay, because now it's time for the question. What did you think?
Of course, I loved it, Brian. Yes, it's wonderful. And yeah, we watched Wicked, and now we have to wait for Wicked for Good. And I've been bootlegging the Broadway on YouTube and stuff, and yeah, of course I loved it. It was beautiful. But like having never watched the Broadway show, but knowing the fates of the characters and listening to their songs are still heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So knowing the fates of those characters, like dancing through life, and then he's talking about everything's fine when you're brainless, and it's heartbreaking. And Bach has a book that says how to fell a tree.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a ton of Easter eggs. If you watch the musical, there's a lot of nods to The Wizard of Oz. They use the font for The Wizard of Oz for Wicked, which was great.
Right.
And I've been talking about this for a while now, but the scene that I thought, Mandy's going to love this. Let's talk about that scene.
Yeah. Which one was that?
The return of the OGs in their cameo.
Oh, yes. The wise women. Yes.
Idina
Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. Yes.
Yes. And of course, when I was sitting in the theater watching it for the first time, when it first came out, I wanted to see this with an audience full of people. The audible gasps. People were like, oh my God, it's them.
It's them.
And of course, since you've been watching the bootleg versions of the musical,
yes,
of the stage show, then of course that part of it was added.
Right, yeah. That's new.
Yeah. So they wrote that for them, and it was perfect.
Yes.
Especially the scene with Kristen Chenoweth when she's singing, she's going all operatic, and the moment that of course, Ariana tries to follow suit and she hushes her. It's like, nope, you had the rest of the movie. This is my time.
That's my part.
So
It's so sweet.
It was wonderful. I mean, everything about this has been great. And of course, it's been released to digital with a bunch of extra stuff. I am getting the Steelbook, which I should be getting the first part of February. And so there's a lot of extra scenes that I understand why they cut them. It's great that you get a chance to see them. But yeah, I enjoyed it the 3 times I've seen it in the theaters. And getting to watch it with you is fantastic. I'm glad I was able to consensually kidnap you. Don't kink shame me, but to get you in a theater. And what I really loved was when we saw it, it was between Christmas and New Year's. It was that Friday. And we both took a half-day vacation. And I figured, well, at least you'll get to see it. Obviously, that much time had passed, and especially at 12:30 in the afternoon. It's not going to be a full theater, but, you know, but that's not what happened because it was a full theater. It was one of the smaller theaters, but the place was packed.
It was packed,
it was sold out at 12:30 on a Friday.
Yep.
It was
like arguments and ushers had to move people around.
Yes, because of the assigned seating. Yes. So, yes, the place was packed. And so you got to see it in a theater full of people.
And we were surrounded by very nice people. There was a nice lady to our left who had crocheted her headband. It was really cute. And I think she even had red sparkly shoes on. It was really adorable. And a mother and daughter to our right. They seemed to really enjoy it. And a little further to our right was a brand new baby.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, Brian?
Yeah.
Barely fussed at all during this 3-hour movie. I was like, man, that's a very well-behaved baby. And like, congratulations to those parents for a very...
raising this future theater kid. Yes,
And,
for sure.
Yeah, its lullaby is going to be defying gravity. It's
Yes. But I'm glad that you got a chance to see it in a theater. Like I said, there's some things that you definitely want to see in a theater. Wicked was definitely one of those things. And the fact that you got to see it in a theater full of people who really loved it was great. And, you know, as far as shows go, of course, we are now on to basically the longest intermission in any theatrical production ever, historically. So we're waiting, obviously, for November for that. But we got the trailer for Superman, which is looking really interesting. We've already confirmed now that Supergirl has started shooting. We have confirmed that we are getting Jason Momoa in that movie as Lobo. But all of this started out with Creature Commandos on Max. And I have watched all of it. Have you?
I haven't. No, I haven't finished it.
How far have you got?
I'm not for sure. I don't know how many episodes I have left. Yeah.
What was the last thing you remember seeing?
I don't remember.
It's because it's been a minute. Well,
it's been a
because
while.
the weather's been kind of screwy and things have been back and forth. Because most of it has been like backstory stuff.
Yes.
And I will say that I will never forgive Creature Commandos for making me care about Weasel.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my God.
No, but I can only picture because after seeing Rocket Raccoon's backstory, I can't picture that Weasels is any better. So just animals in comic books, they don't get good backstories. And talking animals, it's bad.
Yeah, they made me care about Weasel a lot. And that, you sons of bitches. You sons of bitches for making me care about goddamn Weasel. It was an interesting way to start this new DCU. And I enjoyed most of it. There were some things. There was one episode that I felt was very much misery porn.
Ooh.
I was like, I maybe could have passed by that. I maybe didn't necessarily need to see that. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. It's like, imagine Suicide Squad if you really, really don't care about the people because they're monsters.
So be Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Viola Davis just nailed that right out of the park. She was, she's always been fantastic. And of course, we're going to see Rick Flag Sr. in Peacemaker. And it will be Frank Grillo playing him.
Okay.
Because one thing that they wanted to do with the animated series is that anybody who voiced an animated character, they could play him live action in a movie or in a live action TV. And Frank Grillo is going to be playing Rick Flag Sr.
Okay.
And he's going to have beef with Peacemaker for some reason.
I wonder why.
So, and they've acknowledged that, and they've hinted to some things, but we'll definitely find out about that. But with this coming year, regardless of what you think may or may not be happening, good or bad, Marvel's got some things ahead. DC's got some things ahead. There's been some interesting horror things that are coming out. 2025 is going to be
Yeah, the
interesting.
monkey. Oh, did you see that trailer? I forgot
Yes.
that trailer came out. Yes, monkey, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good watching to be had, but I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 238. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.